All right. Happy Lunar New Year, everybody. I'm traveling on a road seeing family, but I wanted to keep consistent, right? Lunar New Year, a lot of folks take a break, but hey, we're going to stay consistent because it's already a habit for us. So today, what we want to do is look at how do you just look at a property that comes up on Redfin to see whether or not it can cash flow as a long-term rental for affordable housing, particularly Section 8. Now, if you're on Redfin, right, all I'm doing right now is filtering on properties that are four-bedroom plus, single family homes, and that have been on Redfin for less than 3 days. Just to kind of check it out, okay? And I came across this property for 150 grand. This is 1617 20th Street North, Birmingham, Alabama 35234. Now, without looking at demographics or crime data, I'm only going to look at this property as is. Okay, so this property, I mean, it's got a slightly above average kitchen. It's not like torn down or anything. And it's not a modern bathroom or a modern kitchen, but it's above average, right? It's okay. And there's a garage. Okay, good. So now that you got these details down, right, you kind of just know, hey, this is relatively turnkey. I mean, it's rent ready, assuming the photos represent the property as is, and you don't see any other things wrong with the property, meaning you can't see the condition of the roof, you don't know the condition of the HVAC system, water heater, etc., or plumbing or electrical panel work, or whatever else might be needed for the property. You're taking it as face value. So I'm going to underwrite this property at face value, assuming certain conditions. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down some of the details here that I can see from this property, right? Which is it's listed for $149,000. For the rehab, I'm going to set aside some money to change the toilets from a higher pressure flush toilet to a high pressure toilet for two of them in row 132. I am going to assume that I'm going to paint only maybe 20% of the home equals 1774 divided by 5, so that's 20% of the square footage. And I'm going to see whether or not this property has. What do you say, Soleil? Yeah, you can go. Go to your party. Go do it. You can bring it with you. Bring it to grandma and grandpa. Excuse me, everybody. Just tend to a daughter. Okay. And then what I'm gonna do is I have $500 for some landscaping in row 46 to kind of keep things tidy before it gets rent ready. And I got $1,500 for the roof just in case there's any patchwork that needs to get done and just as a little small little contingency. So that gives me total rehab of roughly 5 grand just to have it set aside. Now the next detail I need to get is I need to get my rent. Now the first thing I typically do is I look up the HUD FMR, which stands for fair market rents. Okay. You want to put it there? Okay, got it. You want me to stand over there? Okay, one second. Let me turn off my camera. Okay, Dad's doing a little bit of work, okay? Dad, we finish in one sec. Wanna go too? I'm right here. Mama, only that one. Daddy's working right now. There's no meeting, okay? 1 second. One call. Okay. All right, so now, once I get the rents, excuse me, once I get the rents, I'm gonna be on the FMR, and I'm gonna click on the Access to Small Area FMR link. Once you click on that one, you can look up FY 2025, put in the county. This is in Alabama, and then this is in Jefferson County for this property. And now you can see in by bedroom count, by zip code, what your rent ceiling is, which is in 35234. Your rent ceiling is 1580, 1580. Okay. Now, with it being at 1580, 1580, the three bed, what does that look like? The three bed is 1420. And that was for 35234. I'll write down these details because my partners already know how I analyze deals, so this is going to be super easy. Now that I got my rent ceiling, right? So that 1580 number is the rent ceiling you can charge, assuming you cover every utilities. Now, if you don't cover utilities, you have to back out the utility allowances from that number. But the most important test to look at is called the rent reasonableness test. And I typically look at this by going to affordablehousing.com. I'm gonna go to the owner section. Go to the market rent estimator. I'm gonna plug in the address, I'm plug in bedroom count, and I can see right here that the average rent for 21 units within a 2-mile radius is 1117. So because this rent is lower than 1580, I'm going to use 1117 as my rent estimate. And why is that, right? That's because of the rent reasonableness test. And just so you guys can see the terminology of what that is, if you go to the affordable, you look up the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook, right? HCV is what is stands for Housing Choice Vouchers. This was previously known as the Section 8 program. And with this program, if you go to section 2.2 of this program guidebook, right, it says that in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. So this means you can't charge more rent, right? Simply because they're a voucher holder. You can't charge 1580 when everyone else in the market is paying 1117. The government would not allow that. So now that you got this in place, that's why you have to analyze this deal using 1117, and that could be different than you making money or losing money, right? And that's a lot of big mistakes where people some come in and say, "Hey, I'm gonna look at the HUD FMR, and that's it." When in reality, you have to look at the market rent still. So now I got 1117 in here. I'm gonna take my other amounts right from my payment calculator, and I can see that the property tax estimate is 142. So I'll put that right in here, and I can see that the homeowner insurance is 116. So I'll do equals 116. Multiply that by 1.2 because I'm adding a 20% premium to the insurance premium because I understand that insurance companies typically view investment properties as a riskier asset. That's why they're going to charge a little bit more premium. That's why I'm multiplying by 1.2. All right, then I got 10% set aside for my maintenance every single month, right? I know that the roof is going to get replaced in 10, 15, 20 years. I know the HVAC is going to get replaced in 5, 10, 15 years. I just had an HVAC got stolen from one of our properties, and that cost us almost $5,000 to replace. These things will happen, and if you don't set aside costs every single month in anticipation for these properties, you would be grossly overestimating your profitability because you underestimated your expenses. Don't be that person. Always make sure you put that in. All right, then I got 10% for my property management expenses. I got 5% for vacancy. So for this property, if I can finance this property over the 25% down, so my down payment is going to be equals to my B4 times my down payment percentage in F19, I'll be putting 37.25K down. For my financing amount, that's going to be equals to my B4, my asking price, minus my down payment amount. So I'll be financing $111,750, and it's roughly what's called 7.5% interest rate. That's starting 2025. And you're going to see that with all these numbers put in, some 25% down rent, 2% proposing costs, and $4,800 roughly for my renovations, I would cash flow negative 225 a month. So I'd be losing 225 a month if I can rent this property out for only 1117, right? Big difference. That's assuming a purchase price of 149. $5,000 rehab, just round numbers to make lives easier for us. Now, if you had, let's call it, if you were estimating $1,400 for rent for this property, I mean, that's the difference between losing $250 and breaking even. Big difference, right? So this is why the reasonableness test is so important for you to understand exactly where this property will land you, especially if you have to be in a position where you might be pulling money out of your pocket every single month just to sustain the property. Okay. Now, next thing I will do is let's go back to 1117. Let's say, what price do I need to buy this property for in order for me to cash flow 10%? So lower to 80, you saw the cash and cash return number in E9 went lower. So if I go to $70,000, that's the only way I can get to 9.6, which rounds up to 10. So I can write down these details for myself, right? Because now I can understand and start to get a feel for the properties in this market and think about, hey, if I think I can only get 1117 after talking to some property managers, what do I need to buy properties for, assuming that they're turnkey, right? I want to get nearly 10% return. I want to buy for $70,000. Does that mean you get this property for 70 grand when it's listed for 149? Maybe not, but at least now you know. And again, this is not investment advice. not soliciting any investments on this call. Just simply showing y'all the work I do every single day to change the inputs, update the numbers, and figure out whether or not this property makes sense. Okay? Now, to extend this a little bit further, what I've been doing is I've been noting down all the properties that are coming onto the market. Because if you're pursuing a BRRRR strategy, well, what does a BRRRR strategy stand for? BRRRR stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. And how that strategy works is you want to understand just exactly what properties are selling for. Because let's say you buy a property for $20,000 and you put in $50,000 into it. So you're all in roughly $70,000. Well, if you're able to make the property worth $100,000 after you put in $50,000 worth of rehab, then now you can go get a debt service coverage ratio loan, pull back out 70% of your home's value, which would be 100 grand. So you take back $70,000, and that will become in the form of loan proceeds. So it's not taxable, but essentially you have gotten back all the capital that you have initially invested into the deal. And that allows you to rinse and repeat, because now you can take the same capital you pull back in the loan and put it towards another deal. And that's the beauty of the BRRRR strategy. But what is it contingent upon? It's contingent upon you getting the ARV correct. Because if a lender, sometimes they might not give you the exact loan amount you're looking for because they don't see that the value that you expect for your property exists, then you could be in a pretty bad position. Because what are you going to put forward to challenge that appraisal? And the only thing you can do is whether or not you have supporting documents, supporting properties that have been sold recently that justifies the value that you're looking for. So that's why I do this every single day, because now I can just simply figure out, okay, what neighborhood this is in. This is closest to this area called Evergreen. And next time I get another property in here, that might be a 3-bedroom, and I think I can renovate the property like this property. I can refer back to this property and say, hey, bathrooms, not modern. And what did it sell for? Because that can justify how much I can spend on the property from a purchase and acquisition standpoint and rehab standpoint. What my ceiling is in order for me to pull back out and what I call is the perfect BRRRR, where you're able to take back out all the capital. Or if not, how much am I going to expect to leave in the deal? And that's going to be a really, really important factor for you to look into. Okay. Hopefully this is helpful. And this is why it pays for you to keep track of your property, buy zip code, and just understand and help yourself get a better feel for the market, right? No painting needed and no floor work. It looks rental grade. Okay. So not super modern. So Alexander got these details. So my hope is this, right? My hope is that you start your own comparable sales list. You analyze the same property analyzed today using the same spreadsheet. You guys want to copy the spreadsheet? Just go to affordablehousing.io, go to the Get Deal Analysis tool, plug in your name, your email, your phone number. It's the fastest way to get a copy of the spreadsheet. I didn't make the spreadsheet from scratch. I got it from a few other folks. I modified it, tweaked it, I combined them so that I can analyze deals as fast as possible for myself. All right, and I hope you start your own YouTube channel. Because at some point, someone's going to ask you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? And you say, hey, I know this is a deal because I've been looking at deals for the past 488 days. Might that give you some confidence that you know what you're doing? I certainly hope so. All right. New podcast alert. If you guys want to check out and support our affordable housing podcast, I would really, really appreciate it. Check out the latest podcast conversation I did with Velma. She covers exactly how Habitat for Humanity works, operates, how its chapters are distributed. And this is a great, great, great conversation. It reinvigorated me after hearing the stories of folks that they were able to help. I think it's a super valuable conversation, especially if you ever thought about, hey, how else do I play a role in affordable housing, even though I might not be a single family Section 8 investor, even though I might not be a multifamily developer. Maybe there's a team out there that could use your help. All right. Have an amazing Wednesday, everybody. Happy New Year's, everybody, especially you're celebrating the New Year. Thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Without folks like you, I would have never had the home I grew up in. Thank you so much. Have an amazing Wednesday. Spend some quality time with your family and friends today. I'll see you all tomorrow.